So why have they got to like and subscribe again? Okay, right, so we have a selection of carburetors here. This is all based on a video that's, not a video, someone asked us and said, can you tell us how to tune my carburetor? Well, that's a difficult thing to do, really, without proper, data acquisition, like a Lambda sensor and things like that. But this video is to try and explain to you if you've got the right carb or not. That's what it's all about. Half the time we get stuff come down to us and they say, it's nearly there. It's not, it's not nearly there. And well, why are we here in the first place? But long story short is half the time people haven't got the right carb on the job. So this is a selection we brought back, and we're showing this video in probably the dirtiest environment ever because this is a grinding and welding bench. So bear with us. Right, so the first carb I've got is a 16mm PZ style carb. Brilliant little carb. Now, we'd use a 16mm on a 50cc. We wouldn't go any bigger than that. You could run it on a 70, but we wouldn't. For a 70 and 90 and even 110s, you can run a 19mm. This is based on a 19mm carb. It is actually a larger choke because it's got a slightly bigger slide, a 3mm oversized slide. So it does give you a little bit more of a size on the choke. Still measures 19 on the throat there, but because it's just that little bit wider. And then we do a 22. Now, 19 we go up generally to 90cc. The 22 we run on like the 110s, and that's a genuine 22, whereas the choke size here, if I can measure it right, will be just short. That's a class as a 22. We use that on, as I say, 110s, fairly standard or mildly tuned for the road. Or we do a 22 YSN PZ style carb. This is brilliant. We use these on all. We do use these even on 70cc's, but with a slightly, sort of lairier camshaft and things like that. But so that's a good little carb, all the way up to 110. Then if we move those out of the way. By the way, all of these are oval bores. There's a difference between round bores and oval bores, but I'll come to that in a minute. So this is a popular 22mm Mikuni Chinese version, oval bore. The 22 marked on it is not the choke size because that will measure 26. I get in there, be just under 26. I think normally 25. Well, look at that, just on. So that isn't the 22. That's a genuine 22. So you don't ever want to put this on anything like a 110. Some people do it and they say it runs fine, but we've had them on the dyno. They're horrific. So try not to do it. That's that. So this would be used on like a fairly basic 125 engine, sort of 10 horse, something like that. But there's a much better carb on the market, which is another PZ or a PD, they call it. Malt carb. This has got a nice needle that we've had done, a nice full stroke needle, so it's very tapered, gives you a nice sort of fuel control, and gives you pretty much straight out the box. You can use it. Sometimes we have to go bigger on the pilot, on the main, not the pilot, and that works a great performance upgrade over one of these. This works on like the vertical engines, 125, no bigger. Don't put them on a 140, and certainly never put that on a 140 or bigger. It just doesn't cope with it. Other thing with these, we get a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't work very well, and that's because they're putting the choke on with it up when it's down for off. So just remember that. All these butterfly carbs with that type of lever work that principle. So down is off. So that's a lovely carb. Works well, say up to 125. Well, only on 125, should I say. And then for like the high performance engines, like the HO 125s, 140s, 150s, 160s, we use this PE replica carb, 26. This has got a 4-stroke needle we've had made for these. Work really well. You only ever have to down the main jet occasionally. It comes with 115. It is marked as 112, but that's quite a common Chinese thing to do. We drop them sometimes. If you've got a bit of a miss at the top end, like over half throttle and it sort of bogs out or stutters, just drop it to 110. Generally, these want to work with like a free flow and exhaust. That's the only thing. If you've got any sort of sound suppressors up them, you're going to get some form of stuttering and mucking around. You may have to down jet as low as a 107, but a lot of the time we're after performance. We're not after sort of quietness and performance at the same time. Right, last carb is it's a Chinese Jinky, which is a copy of a PE of style. Carb, 28mm. We'd use that on the 190s, the 212s, the 4 valves. It's just perfect. We don't go up to 30mm. I've done a load of testing with 30mm carbs, and we're actually nearly a horse and a half down at top end running 30s. I mean, some people do run them and say they've got more performance, but when we've done the test, we haven't seen it. So we really like that one. Works really well. But as I say, the difference between these are two are round balls. Everything here is oval ball. Oval balls are good for sustaining revs because it keeps the speed over the actual emulsification needle jet, whereas a round ball, you know, is generally a lot faster track for a higher flowing, like a more performance engine. But you know, as I say, if you've got a 125 or something, you're sustaining revs on the road, oval ball's the way forwards for that. Hopefully that clear things up roughly for you. It's, you know, it's not exactly an in-depth discussion on them, but it should just put you in the ballpark of where you need to be with the size of carb, oval versus round. And yeah, we'll go into more depth of trying to tune stuff. But as I say, tuning stuff you can do. Just to say, plug chops are brilliant. You can do that, but sometimes it's just the fact you've got the wrong carb. Right, after filming a lot of that, I kind of realised that there is a couple of things I said that aren't in the video, but there are smaller carbs. There's 18, there's a 12mm, 16 and a 12, which is for certain really small port work engines like the old Jinchings 50s. They just had tiny ports. Like, I think the carbs, the early ones were even like 10mm. But anyway, so there's more carbs. This was just a rough idea of what to be running. But there's also 20mm, there's also 18mm and others as well. So if you're not sure what you need for your engine, give us a call. We can run through the state of the tune and get a rough idea, and we can get you in the ballpark. I mean, do people even realise how long it took these to get these freaking carbs back in the boxes with the chokes hanging out, the butterflies and all of that shenanigans? Anyway, you're not filming, are you? Good.